everyone, and welcome back to the Tulpa Time Podcast. I'm your host, Lyrical, and in my previous video, I asked you to leave in the comments what you would like to hear talked about on this podcast. There were a few things that were mentioned, but the most upvoted or liked one was something regarding audio imposition, or being able to hear your tulpa. Now, for many people, this can be a difficult part of tulpamancy. After all, hearing voices makes you crazy, right? Or so they say. I like to think we hear voices all the time, regardless. Most people have an internal monologue, yes? Well, I've heard it told to me by my own tulpa and by other people's tulpa that tulpa speak before you're able to hear them. And if you're unable to hear them, it's because you're listening but you're not hearing, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So, sometimes we try really hard to make something happen. We try so hard that, in turn, we force it not to happen. And a lot of tulpamancy is repetition, and a lot of tulpamancy is going over the same routine, the meditation, the forcing, this is what you sound like, this is what you look like, all that. But with audio imposition, you're literally having to hear a voice that's coming from nowhere. And I know that can be stigmatized in the community. A lot of people would say that's schizophrenia. If you're hearing a voice that's coming from nowhere, then it's schizophrenia. I'm more partial to believe that in the moments when you're not expecting it, that's when you'll hear the voice. Almost every tulpamancer, that I've spoken to has said that the moment they stop trying so hard to hear the voice of their tulpa is the moment when that single word finally broke through. But let's start from the beginning. Whenever you're making a tulpa and you're trying to elicit a vocal reaction out of it, a lot of people will feel an emotional response or a mental, almost like a, I would say, a tingling in the brain. It's an emotion that seems to be completely alien and swell up out of absolutely nowhere. So let's say you're flipping through your favorite radio stations. There are not many around nowadays that play any sort of worthwhile music. So let's say you're on satellite radio. And you're flipping through all these different stations, and you're asking your tulpa on each one, do you like this one? Do you like this one? As you flip through, you're getting no response. Then a particular song comes on, and all of a sudden, and it's a song that you may not even like that much, but all of a sudden you just get this feeling, this alien feeling that gives you a sense of approval. Like whenever you see a completed work of art, and you get a wave of approval from it because you're like, that's good. I like that. That feeling comes to you, but you don't like this song, so why do you feel this way? And it seemed to creep up out of absolutely nowhere. That can be the first little spark, the first little inkling of a tulpa trying to communicate with you. It starts out like that for most people. As I've stated many times before, tulpamancy is inherently a subjective experience, and each person's lived experience may be different with the phenomenon. I say this, and yet there does seem to be a trend. A lot of people say the first thing they felt was an emotional response, or a mental response, a foreign emotion that came from nowhere. So it starts out that way. And I am of the theory, and this is my personal opinion, that is your tulpa speaking to you before you can hear their words. There used to be a term that was thrown around back in the early days of the modern phenomenon of tulpamancy called translation, where you had to translate these emotions and these pressures, these head pressures, mental responses, into words. And it could be very difficult. What is your tulpa trying to tell you by making you feel a wave of gratitude for, I don't know, scratching your foot? What is your Tulpa trying to tell you there? It can be very difficult for people starting out. But the key to Tulpamancy is to have an open mind, an open and clear mind, I think. And you can only receive answers and receive the words you're searching for by being willing and ready to accept them. If you're jumping at every single time you hear a word in your mouth, a word in your brain, you might think it's coming from you, and that might lead to doubt. But if you're truly open and you're not expecting it, and that word comes to you, it could be anything. They could be saying, "What?" Or you could tell them a joke and hear a giggle. The time that you're not expecting it and that voice hits you, that will be the time when it feels real. And there's a period of time that I like to call the doubt window. And that doubt window is from the moment you're introduced to the phenomenon to the first time you feel like this could be real. And that little could be right there, that could be, that is the spark. That's what really sets the ball into motion. So when you first discover what Tulpamancy is and you say, "Oh, this is crazy, people talking to themselves, this is stupid," and then you look further into it, because deep down we all want it to be real. We all want to experience something that cannot be explained via science very easily, if at all. We want there to be some sort of magic in the world. Now, I'm not saying Tulpamancy are magic. I'm just saying, we want something to happen to us that is out of the ordinary. So you have that little window there where you're like, this is bullcrap. I don't believe a word of this. These people are crazy. And then you read about it and you start to hear these testimonials and people saying that they're happy with their lives and they have someone who truly loves them and knows them better than they know themselves. And you get that little, could it be real? That could it be? That's the gold. That's the moment where you truly start to open your mind to all of the possibilities. And it's a gradual process. You start to change the definitions around in your brain of what is real. Well, if real is what I feel and see and touch, just like in the Matrix, what Morpheus says, then real is just electrical signals interpreted by your brain. So, in a sense, that means this could be real, and you rationalize this. And that can tie in pretty much with anything with Tulpamancy. You have to believe it to be real. Now, this isn't a cult. No one's going to ask you to drink any punch. No one's going to ask you to send money to their, convent out in Jonestown, wherever. This is just people who create consciousnesses in their mind, a separate but sentient consciousness, and enjoy its time. So how does that tie into audio imposition? Well, you have to believe that your Tulpa can speak, and you have to be willing to listen. Truly listen. Don't listen with your ears. Listen with your brain. Listen to the swelling and the ebbing of the emotional responses you get, and want to hear, want to truly hear, but don't force it. Contrary to what you hear about Tulpa forcing, you shouldn't try to force this to happen. I'm of the opinion that the old methods of repetition and brute forcing a response do yield results, but it is an arduous process. Recently, it's come to my attention that there are people who can go through this entire process and never hear a word of what their Tulpa has to say, or never see them. And that seems strange to me. I believe that we all have to have an open mind if we go into this process. If your mind is completely closed off to any possibility, I'm fairly certain very little results will be seen from undertaking the process of creating a Tulpa. We have to have an open mind in order for these things to happen. And in that open mind, you will be able to hear. So start out asking your tulpa questions every now and then. Start out telling them stories. Just speak to them. Vocalize to them about anything. You don't have to do it out loud. You can do it in your brain. You can read a book to them. You can talk to them about how your day was. And there will be times when you feel crazy sitting in your car on an afternoon, speaking into the open, or in your brain, thinking out into the ether. And you'll think I'm crazy. And you'll keep doing it. But when you get ready to listen, and you aren't expecting it, you just might get that response. You might hear them say, "Yeah, that sucks, man." Or, "I agree." Or, as my first words were with my tulpa, "What?" You may hear that. And let me tell you something right now. The first time you do hear it, it'll scare you a little. It'll shock you. This voice will come from seemingly nowhere. If there's a background to your consciousness, let's say your consciousness is a castle wall sitting in the foreground, you'll hear the voice come from behind the castle wall. It'll sound foreign and alien, but not threatening. It'll come from within, but it'll come from without. And the moment you hear that voice, it changes. The whole experience changes. Suddenly a few of those doubts that you had kind of start to float away. Now, it's not easy. There will be times when you'll doubt yourself. That's natural in tulpamancy. I've doubted myself many times. And I've had doubts with the experience. But the longer I've done it, and the more things I've seen and more people I've met, has led me to believe that there is nothing more true in this world than tulpamancy is. It's full of potential, and being able to hear voices can be very helpful in a lot of situations as well. Having someone to talk to, it's great. You know, when you're at your most lonely, and when you feel like you have no one there at all, and you hear a voice comfort you, and it feels separate, like this other person, because it is another person, it's another consciousness, cares for you, and cares for your well-being, it can make you feel much better. So as you talk to them, and you narrate, and you visualize, you vocalize, and you tell them these stories, and you ask them these questions, and you tell them these jokes, you're just trying to open your mind to the possibility that they'll respond. Eventually. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't happen in a week, or sometimes even a month. Don't be discouraged. Eventually that voice will come. And when it does, it'll be great. And I think that's most of the information I have on, audio imposition, speaking to your tulpa. Just talk to them about anything and everything. Ask them questions. Present them different things and ask them, do you like this? Sometimes simple yes or no responses will be enough to elicit, that first word is all you need. And then it starts to snowball from there. Now, I would say the video would end here, but I do have something else I want to talk to you guys about. I had this thought that occurred to me, and I want to know if you guys want to hear about it. It's regarding guided meditation. Guided visualization is more like it. Essentially, I would be painting a picture with my words, and you would listen to it and visualize it in your mind. And it is pretty much going to be designed to help people who struggle with visualization, who struggle with seeing things in their mind's eye. Now, people with aphantasia, that's a totally different thing. I need to learn more about aphantasia and what it is and why it exists. It seems like almost like a curse to me. I couldn't imagine not being able to visualize things in my mind's eye. But people who are struggling with it, I was thinking about making this series of videos where I just guide you through a wonderland that I've created for you using my words. And I would like to give you a bit of a demonstration now, if you will. So if you would please close your eyes and get yourself into a relaxed state. And once your eyes are closed, I want you to relax, go into normal breathing. You don't have to do deep meditative inhales and exhales. Just put yourself in this place. So, you open your eyes, and you're standing in an emerald field of waving grass. The wind whips across the plain, making the grass move in waves, like a green ocean out before you. The hills roll and turn and paint a beautiful landscape in front of you. You see atop a hill, not 500 feet from where you stand, a single solemn oak tree. The leaves that adorn the top of it are almost matching the emerald green of the grass, a slight shade darker. The wind makes the tree dance lightly to and fro. Above the tree, a beautiful, beautiful sapphire sky. Light blues that fade into the deepest, deepest blue. Cirrus clouds, light and wispy, dance overhead, being pulled along by an impossible wind speed that's so far away it seems slow. The sun casts golden rays down, illuminating the field, making the grass sparkle slightly as the waves of wind pass through it. You can hear the sounds of the wind against your ears, sometimes almost like a howl, but not in an unpleasant way. The wind is just cool enough where it feels refreshing. As you step through the grass, you hear the crunch of your feet. You reach your fingertips out. You touch the blades of grass, and you can feel the tips lightly tickling at your fingertips. You see some pre-worn trails in the grass that lead up to the tree. As you step, crunch, crunch, crunch. The wind still kissing you gently as you walk along. You draw closer to this single oak tree. Its trunk, brown and gray, towering. As you approach it, you reach a hand out to touch it. Your fingertips touch the trunk. There's a bit of moss there, some fungus, you're not sure, gray and brittle. You move your hand along the trunk and you can see each individual line in its bark. Your fingertips trace the lines. You see a few ants walk from the corner of your vision up toward the top of the trunk. As you look up, you see it loom overhead. The leaves dancing back and forth with the wind. Serendipitous, this moment. It envelops you. And you know that everything is okay. You turn around and face the open field, and you can see the grass still doing its dance. You sit down next to the tree, and you pull out your favorite book and begin turning the pages. Today is a beautiful day. And that would be something about, like, what would happen. Go ahead and open your eyes. That would be something that I would want to do. Just a guided wonderland where I can I'm creating the wonderland for you, but I'm using your own visualization abilities and trying to help you see using my words. It's almost like reading a good book, And I came up with that all off the top of my head as I went. I've been blessed with very good visualization ever since I was a child. I had a very overactive imagination because my family was kind of poor, and I had many times only my imagination to play with. I didn't have many toys. Sometimes we'd only get one toy for Christmas, if that. So I was a little boy in his room with his imagination, and I went places in my mind. And I think that helped me as an adult when I got into this practice of tulpamancy. I think it aided me greatly, and I think it may be one of the reasons why I was so open to it and willing to partake in the journey. If you guys would want to have me do something like that, just let me know, because I would really like to. I would really like to guide you through something like that. And even if you're not having trouble with it, I'd like you to listen along, and perhaps I can just take you on a journey. The actual videos would be much longer than that, and more would happen in them. But just let me know if that's what you guys wanted. So to summarize one more time about audio imposition, the key is to truly listen. Listen not with your ears, but with your mind. And be willing to accept that you will be able to hear it when it comes. Don't be discouraged. Many things in this practice take long, long amounts of time. Honestly, visualization was the easiest for me. Audio took quite a while, and maybe it's because I'm such a mind's eye focused person that my mind's ears were closed. It took me 6 months before I could hear my Tulpa's first words. 6 months of nothing but slight emotional responses that grew heavier over time. And for a while I was even content with that. I was content with just feeling an emotion that was foreign to my own. And also I do have something else. One more thing. This is something a little bit different. So I recently made a Patreon account. And the reason why these videos come out so sparingly is because I am an adult with a job that I work at quite a lot, and sometimes I just don't have the time or energy to make these. And I really, really enjoy making these. Being able to speak about Tulpa with a larger audience and having people say that it helped them and makes them feel good, and they feel like, I'm getting somewhere with my Tulpa, that really, really feels great. It does. Because I know that I wanted that. That's the whole reason I started this channel. I wanted someone to be able to feel and experience what I felt. And in order to support the channel, I created a Patreon, which you do not have to at all. You do not have to donate anything to it. It's strictly if you want to. It is a if you want to basis. I want to say that like 5 or 6 times in a row. It's if you want to. I'm not begging you, and I'm not expecting you to. It's just there. It exists. My dream would be to, and it's a crazy dream, my dream would be able to be able to do this and be able to make these videos much more rapidly and not struggle so much in the process. And it would be great. I would absolutely love it. I don't know what tiers to make on my Patreon. I don't know what you guys would want for the tiers to be. I thought about maybe making personalized videos for people, like you telling me about your Tulpa, and if you need help describing them physically, or if you need help putting yourself in a wonderland with them, I could guide you through that and help you with that. But I don't know. Most importantly, thank you guys for listening. And like I said, the Patreon is there. You do not have to donate to it if you don't want to. I will stress that. It's just there for me to perhaps make these more often, because I would really like to. But thank you guys for listening. And and I should probably say the name of the Patreon. Duh. See, this is how you know that I'm not good at this. It's patreon.com/Tulpa Time. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's just something I thought I'd try. And you don't have to donate it if you don't want. I'll be fine. But as always, thank you guys for listening. And I will see you in the next video, which, if you guys want to see more guided meditation, guided visualization like I did before, that little brief snippet, just let me know. And that can be a series that I can do. I can try and put those out a little common, a little more common, and we can kind of have like a series, almost like an adventure. Just one video after another, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4. And it's really just designed to help you visualize better. It's my strength, so I figured I would try to share that strength with other people. If not, then I have another video that I'm going to do. If you guys don't want that, if that sounds like not fun, then I have another idea for a video I can do. But I will see you guys in the next video, and thank you for listening to my podcast. I really appreciate you guys, all your comments and all your thank yous, and all of the stories that people kept, and all the questions people ask. I love it. I like helping people, and I'm very passionate about Tulpamancy. I have done this every day since 2012. I don't remember exactly the month, but 2012. And I'm very passionate about it. And I love talking about Tulpamancy and every aspect of it. So thank you again. So that's like 5 thank yous. And I'll see you guys in the next video.